Hamas says it's reviewing a 20-point peace plan put forward by US President Donald Trump before making a decision that could end the war in Gaza. Negotiators are expected to discuss details of that proposal with other Palestinian factions. The Trump-led plan has won the backing of the Israeli Prime Minister, but Benjamin Netanyahu maintaining control by the Israeli army of parts of the enclave. A positive response, though, from many quarters, leaders from China, Britain and the European Union offering their support. The proposal demands Hamas effectively disarm and return all hostages in exchange for an end to fighting. It also raises the possibility of a credible pathway to statehood if conditions are met. For more, Blake Sifton covering the story for CNN live from Tel Aviv. Blake, we've heard positive responses from some quarters, but less positive possibly from other quarters.
Good evening, Wei Su. That's right. When speaking to contacts in Gaza, you hear a great deal of pessimism when it comes to this proposal for peace in Gaza. Some people think that Hamas will not accept this proposal unless they are leaned on heavily by Arab states. Others think they will accept it, but they don't believe that it will lead to a lasting ceasefire. They say that once Hamas releases the hostages, they think Israel will renew hostilities. Of course, people living in Gaza have seen 2 ceasefires break down, hostilities renew, and they've seen plenty of false starts where negotiations that seemed promising faltered and never came to fruition. When it comes to the Palestinian Authority, they have thanked President Trump and they've expressed their confidence in his ability to find a path toward peace. Hamas, as you say, are holding consultations with their political and military leaders, both inside Gaza and out. And we understand that their response might come as early as tomorrow. However, we have heard from other armed factions in Gaza, including Islamic Jihad. They have criticized this proposal. They've said it is a recipe for continued aggression against the Palestinian people. Now, Hamas will not like these calls to disarm, and they will not like that they're being cut out of the political process, and they will not be involved in the governance of Gaza. On that last point, they've shown flexibility in the past. They've said that they were willing to allow an independent Palestinian entity govern Gaza, but they have never agreed to give up their weapons. So it will be interesting to see whether they bend to that demand. Of course, their allies, including Qatar and Turkey, have essentially signed on to support this proposal, as has mediator Egypt. So they will be putting pressure on them. And we understand that Hamas is actually meeting with both Qatar and Turkey this afternoon to discuss this proposal.
Blake, the false starts you mentioned in terms of ceasefires have come in part because of disagreement within the far right and the less far right of the Israeli government. We've already heard some response from that part of the Israeli government.
That's exactly right. Within Israel, it's been interesting. The reaction to this proposal has been overwhelmingly positive. The family members of the hostages are holding out a great deal of hope. They've thanked President Trump. They've said they've been waiting almost 2 years for this moment. And then across the political spectrum, leaders in opposition, like centrist Yair Lapid, the left Democrats, as well as Avigdor Lieberman on the right, they've all expressed support for this plan. But when it comes to the far right within Netanyahu's ruling coalition, it's a different story. We hadn't heard much from them today, but then finally Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich broke his silence. He came out and said that this plan gives up real achievements on the ground for political illusions, a diplomatic bear hug, and glittering ceremonies. He even went as far as to say that it would end in tears. However, he didn't go as far as to say that his party will work to thwart it. He said that they're holding consultations, they're studying the proposal, and they will respond in time. Similarly, far-right National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir, his party are also holding consultations, an emergency session this afternoon to decide how they will respond. Of course, they are completely against this idea that the Palestinian Authority will have a role governing Gaza after they've reformed and taken over from this transitional government. And even Netanyahu yesterday seemed to try to calm their fears when he said that the transformation that the PA must undergo is radical and genuine. And of course, they're also completely against this idea that there's a pathway to a Palestinian state. And Prime Minister Netanyahu has also, of course, vowed to prevent that from happening.
Oh, thanks. Blake Sifton there covering the story for CNA from Tel Aviv. Singapore has welcomed a peace plan proposed by US President Donald Trump and agreed to, as we mentioned, by Israel. It's calling on Hamas to accept that proposal and end the war in Gaza. Foreign Affairs Ministry spokesperson says Singapore supports an immediate ceasefire as well as the immediate release of all remaining hostages. It also backs a surge in humanitarian aid to Palestinian civilians. Singapore also welcomed Mr. Trump's initiative to establish a dialogue between Israel and the Palestinians. All this for the two sides to agree on a political horizon for peaceful coexistence. Singapore believes a negotiated two-state solution is the only viable pathway to achieve a comprehensive, just and durable solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. This is consistent with relevant UN Security Council resolutions.